Welcome to How to Be a Couple with me, your host, Giuliano Gramado. Last week, I posted a video on Instagram where I was talking about the idea of staying in a relationship because you feel obligated to, because you made a promise years ago, is not a good enough reason to stay in the relationship. Obviously, this is one of the main things that I talk about. But as usual, right, when I talk about this, it tends to spark a little bit of controversy. So, someone in the comments told me that they believe that my idea is surface level and that relationships and two people becoming one is deeper than that, right? They made the argument that, real relationships are messy and ugly, and that what I'm promoting is basically encouraging people to wear a mask. And I want to talk about it here because I think it's something important to address, right? I could imagine a lot of people hearing my idea and going, "Oh, this guy's just talking about, that this modern view of people just abandoning relationships." And, I get it, right? I understand. I actually used to look at it that way, that people, oh man, people just walk away from relationships nowadays. But that's really not the point of this. It's actually, in my opinion, a big misunderstanding because, first of all, there's a difference between being kind, being thoughtful, being intentional, and wearing a mask, right? I'm definitely not encouraging people to wear a mask. When it comes to your relationship, you're not trying to be something that you're not. The idea is that you're choosing your behavior, right? And you're choosing better behavior. It's just basically just being intentional. Um, in reality, you would think, right? The idea is if you love someone, that you want them to have a good experience in the relationship, right? So I want to talk about this a little bit too, because it's not just about, like, I'm definitely not telling people not to accept their partner. As a matter of fact, I think that's actually a huge thing when it comes to being in a relationship, is accepting your partner 100%. But there is a huge difference between accepting someone as a person and accepting their bad behavior. When you love someone for who they are, no matter what, that is 100% healthy. But when you excuse harmful behavior, that is not healthy. Okay, when people say things like, well, that's just who I am, that is simply an excuse. And, if you end up going back and finding this comment, you'll see that that's exactly what I said. When someone says, oh, you know, real, true, deep love is ugly and messy, and, obviously they're referring to arguments and, all these things. What you have to understand is that that is just an excuse for bad behavior, and it's at your partner's expense. Should your partner accept you as you are? 100%. 100%. But you demanding that your partner accepts your bad behavior, to me, is unacceptable. It's really just an easy excuse. And what I will say is, a lot of people, hide behind that label of authenticity, right? Well, this is who I am, and you should accept me for who I am. But again, this is really just used to justify being impatient, rude, careless, any number of things, right? But all you're really doing at that point is just making life harder for the person next to you. And the real goal of a relationship is for two people working to become the best versions of themselves together, right? You are two people in a relationship, you love each other, and you're supporting each other in becoming the best versions of yourselves. This is not two people on opposite sides demanding acceptance from the other person for their worst habits, for the things that they just simply refuse to improve upon. Okay, growth is part of love. It's not just this thing where you go, oh, you just accept me and that's it. You might have heard this before, but everything in life, meaning like everything on the planet, is either growing or dying. But the same is true of relationships. If you're really there's no such thing as a relationship just staying the same forever. It's either growing or it's dying. And if you, ironically, right, this is so funny because, if you talk to this person is going to be the person that advocates for till death do us part. So what I'm saying is, what's funny about that is, if you want to last, like, hello, don't you want it to be good? Don't you want it to move in the right direction? Because again, it's not going to stay the same. It's either going to grow or it's going to die. And you tell me, right, if someone is not trying to improve as a person, trying to be a better partner, trying to be the best version of themselves, which direction do you think it's going? Okay, the goal, let me clarify this, okay? No one should be wearing a mask in a relationship. The goal is not to pretend. The goal is really what everyone's goal in life should be, which is to become the best version of themselves. Again, this does not mean not accepting yourself, and it doesn't mean not accepting your partner. You 100% should be accepting yourself. But again, there's a difference between, oh, I don't accept myself and I have to change because I don't accept myself, or I do accept myself and I desire to be the best version, right? It's an ambition versus, something that you feel like you have to do to compensate for not being, yourself and not accepting yourself. Okay. So what I'm saying here is that the goal is not to pretend to be a good person. The goal is becoming the best version of yourself. And I totally agree with being authentic. You 100% should be authentic, right? I'm not saying you should wear a mask, but authenticity should still include respect. It should still include treating the other person the way you want to be treated. It should still include being kind, right? This is what's so funny is when I talk about this, all I'm advocating for is like being a good partner. Right? And people get defensive and they're like, "Oh, but I'm this." You're like, "Okay, I don't understand. Are you advocating for bad behavior?" Right? You can be authentic, be your most authentic self and still be a good person and still treat your partner in a good way. So, a good question to ask yourself, are you asking your partner to accept your bad behavior or are you focused on becoming someone that your partner wants to be with? That your partner would not give up for anything in the world. That's what I got for you guys today. If you want personalized relationship coaching, I have a waitlist going to work with me one on one. Send me a DM that says waitlist at How to Be a Couple on Instagram. I'll add you to the list and let you know when a slot opens up. Talk to you next time.